gang. Whoops. I don't have all my sound hooked up yet, do I? Forgive me, just a minute. All right, sorry, something's wrong with my microphone. Now something's wrong with my monitor, so sorry. At least I know you're not getting sound, so bear with me. Just already lost 3 people. I don't blame you. All right, can I hear me now? Hello? There we go. All right, so bad sound. We're going to proceed. This is going to be a real short broadcast, and this is Daily Art Adventure number 991. I'm calling it More Radical Fix-It Techniques for Portraiture. Real quick, overall general philosophy statement. If you rely exclusively on tips and tricks, techniques, photomechanical techniques for capturing a likeness, whether it's a portrait or a portrait of a barn, if you rely on them too heavily, your drawing skills deteriorate. So my solution is to always try to do everything at first, try it the hard way, and then start employing tips and tricks, techniques by degrees. Start out with an easy one or a gentle one, and then get more extreme. So the one I'm going to show you right now is fairly extreme. This is a wedding portrait I started 9 days ago, Saturday night. It's been a crazy week. That's why I'm so far behind. And I already have used some techniques here, but I'm still not happy. Now, just again, quick overall. How good am I? How bad am I, Dan Nelson? I wish I were better. I'm at the point where I would say about 40% of my portraits, I nail them. Less than half. 40% where I nail a perfect likeness without using any tips or tricks. Okay, so I don't know if you would call that good or bad. Compared to some people, it's terrible. So compared to other people, it's fantastic. But I think that's a rough approximation of where I am. Anybody, friends of these people, could easily tell who they are. But of course, that's not good enough. Just being able to tell who they are is not a perfect likeness. That's just a likeness. Hello, Maggie, and hello, Wise Jack. I'm going to tell you what is a pretty extreme form of correction. Before I do that, let me throw a commercial at you. In next weekend, November 11, 12, 13, 14, right in there, I'm teaching several online classes. One of them is called Portrait Painting for the Rest of Us, Tips and Tricks for Achieving a Likeness. And I put a link to that in my community page on my YouTube channel. All right. So if you want, it's a virtual class online through Zoom. So if you want to get the whole thing, all in one 3-hour class, then by all means sign up for that. All right. So here we have Scott and Kelsey. And I am not happy. By the way, this also seems to be the case. It seems like if I get off on the wrong foot with a portrait, as I clearly have with Kelsey, he's very close. But if I get off on the wrong foot, it just seems like, man, it's hard to get back on track. And I end up having to use more extreme techniques. Whereas and I wish I could always get off on the right foot, you understand? But here's the next trick that I'm going to throw at you. Now, in order to do this, you have to have a phone. I hope I'm being sarcastic. Everybody watching me has a phone, smartphone. You have to have a smartphone. You have to have a computer. I think I still haven't lost too many of you. And you have to have a printer. Now, I may have lost a few of you there. And so let me just say, I'm going to set the bar this high. If you have any hope, and of course many of you don't, but if you have any hope whatsoever of doing any portrait work, you you've got to have a printer. Okay, printers are dirt cheap. It's the ink that's expensive. So if you don't do a lot of printing, it's pretty cheap. The printer is cheap. They make money on the ink. Anyway, so here's the latest technique. I took this painting upstairs to where my computer is, and I took the photograph that I had of Kelsey in I just said his name a minute ago, Scott. I have the photograph. I downloaded it to my computer, and in Photoshop. Oh, I guess you have to have Photoshop too. And Photoshop used to be expensive. Now you just pay $10, $9.99 a month, and you can get it. It's worth it. So there you go. If you want to be an artist, you gotta have a phone, computer, printer, and Photoshop, in my opinion. And in Photoshop, I took the photograph on my computer and matched it to this. In other words, I'm not going to match the painting to the print. I'm going to match the print to the painting. And here is that print. Now, again, just a little tips here. In Photoshop, I stretched Kelsey, because that's what you always do. Not so much that people can tell, but just so much so they look good. It's standard, in my opinion, standard operating procedure. I didn't elongate her like crazy, just a little bit, and mostly from the waist down. So it's really all of this that's longer. All right? And I tweaked it, went back and forth several times to make sure it was the right size, and indeed it is. We're not done yet. Now I could, of course, just now that this is 1-to-1 ratio, it would be a lot easier to make corrections, especially if you were to use calipers or dividers or a compass, right? You could just do, or even a ruler, but a compass is quicker and easier. You could just start measuring stuff like this, and you could make all kinds of corrections. So that would be an intermediate. Again, I'll cover that kind of thing in my class next week. But here's what I did. I jumped right ahead to more radical, and I took a piece of clear, transparent acetate, taped it very carefully and firmly down on top of this photograph. Then I took a Sharpie marker or something like it and very carefully trace. Got it? So now I'm going to put aside that print, and I'm going to take this acetate. Oh my. Okay, now you can ask me if this is embarrassing. And the answer is, heck yes. Of course it's embarrassing. What do you think? I seriously considered not showing you this part, because it's like, doggone, how can I be so off, so wrong? Well, there you go. Welcome to my world. Dan Nelson, the mediocre painter. My only defense is, well, number one, I don't always have to do this, and many times I'm just making excuses. You understand? Sometimes I nail the sucker. Sometimes I get it just right, about 40% of the time. Other times I do this and go, dang, what are these? What are these things in the front of my head? Eyeballs. Oh, this is one of the worst. Honestly, this is embarrassing. Okay, I can zoom in as far as I can so you guys can see what I'm talking about. Now, of course, you saw me spend several seconds positioning this to catch, the essence of it. Now, and I'm going to keep this broadcast pretty short because this is the part that I want you to see. And by the way, I learned this. I got confirmed from one of the big dog. I forget now what his name was. A fairly well-known portrait painter on YouTube showed us, has a video where he does this exact thing. So that's a little bit. All right, now There are a lot of corrections I need to make here. And by the way, some of them I'm not going to make. Some of them I'm going to go with the painting. For instance, where her dress has this very clever dress, by the way, if I may say so, has this little, I don't know, kick out on the back. Very clever. That's all I'm going to say about that. Lovely couple. I really loved them, and they're a little bit older, I would guess. I'm thinking early to mid 30s. Mature couple, very fun. I mean, mature as opposed to 20 something. That's all I'm going to say about that as well. Lovely couple. Enjoyed the wedding. Enjoyed them very much. And she's beautiful and he's handsome. But I put the kick out to her dress there when actually it's supposed to be about a quarter of an inch higher. I'm not going to fix that. I like mine better. Okay, so there you go. That's artistic license. Now, here's another trick I'm going to show you right now. There are enough changes here, enough to be embarrassed about. You understand? That if I started painting them, it would be get confusing really fast. So here we go again. Of course, this is Dan Nelson, so this is not crazy for me. This is, let me see if I can show you. This pencil, can you, hang on, I'm going to get there in a second. Bear with me. There we go. Jumbo Jet Black by Jerry's Artarema, made in Austria, I understand. So I'm going to make the corrections with pencil. In fact, two pencils, one black and one white. The reason for that is the as you know, pencil marks look very different on a painting. They don't look like paint marks. They look like pencil marks. That make sense? So it'll be easy for me to see my corrections. Whereas if I painted them, the paint could kind of get lost in the camouflage, lost in the shuffle, and be kind of go like, well, which of these paint lines is correct? After I take this away, which of these lines is correct? But if I make the corrections in pencil, I alleviate that. So I'm going to start with a really big, and of course, there's still some drawing involved, because of course you can't draw when the plastic is right on top of it. Are you with me? So you still have to be able to do some drawing. Man, the place where I missed this the worst, and dang, this is embarrassing. The place where I missed it the worst is really on her shoulders and her ear. Man. In fact, I had her earring, get this. I actually had her ear and her earring in the right place at one time. And then I moved it. I had it right and then made it wrong. Boy, is that embarrassing. By the way, there is and let's do a little bit of practical teaching. There's a way to get better at this stuff. It's called practice. It's called practice every day. It's called practice every doggone day. Do it every day, a whole bunch, and then you get better. So there you go. That's why. That's my excuse. I'm sticking with it. That's why I'm not as good as I wish I were, because I don't do it every day. But also, what's the word? After being all humble and everything and embarrassed, what I'm not embarrassed about is I will stick with a portrait till it's perfect, quote unquote perfect. I don't mean perfect like God-like perfect. I just mean perfect enough so nobody can look at it and say, hey, something looks wrong. All right, so there you go. That's my so I'm using the white pencil now. Now here's another place where I'm going to cheat. Literally, her neckline comes to, I don't know if you can see where my fingers, and I've got it painted about 1/8 of an inch that way, which is quite a bit on a portrait this size, but I'm going to have that. I'm not going to, this is one of the places where I habitually cheat on a woman. On men and women, I lengthen them. That just goes without saying. Free of charge. Not so much, again, I say this all the time, forgive me, but not so much that they look at themselves and say, dang, you made us skinny, right? That would be a mistake. But I elongate them so much that if they're not, and people, of course, most people are not as visually astute as you, and if you're an artist, as you and I are. They just aren't. Man, I got her arm almost perfect. Huh, that's funny. I got her arm perfect, but her shoulder and chest I completely screwed up. That's just crazy. Now, I knew something was wrong, by the way, and this is not the only way to fix things. Again, I could have used a proportional divider, other tricks, intermediate before I got this far, but I'm trying to make money at this business, so I don't, it's partly an exercise for me, but it's also partly I got to get the dang thing done. So on this, since I was not happy with how things were going, it's like, I worked on this for a little bit yesterday, and was not happy when I came and looked at it today. It's like, right. So when I hit that point, you know that. Do you know that point in painting? That point where you go, yeah, that point. Then I said, okay, that's enough. I've experimented enough. Now it's time to get radical. Here again, I'm using the white pencil up here where the paint is very dark. Because if I used a black pencil, I wouldn't be able to see it. I'm assuming that makes sense to you, right? You can't draw with a black pencil very well on black paint and see what you're doing. So really, this is about all I'm going to do here. Now let's again talk about her face. I guess I'll bring you guys in as close as I can so you can see how bad I missed it on her face. And again, you can ask, well, are you embarrassed about that? The answer is heck yes. This is humiliating. I shouldn't be showing you guys this stuff. Dead on her, it looks to me, on her mouth and her nose almost. But then I completely blow it on her eye. Like, that's crazy. That is just crazy. That is embarrassing. Okay, so that's basically all I'm going to do. By the way, here's just a funny little detail, since I brought you in that close. Her head is tilted toward us slightly, right? And that's quite important to the charm of I took 150, 200 pictures and narrowed it down to 5 and showed the 5 to the bride and groom. They picked out this one, and her head is tilted toward us. Now the most that affects mostly her smile, but this is too small. Let me draw on the back here. Let me show you the number one indicator for the angle of her. So I'm just blowing this up really huge. Okay, so there's the eye that is toward us. You with me? Of course, I don't have nearly that much detail. And here's her eyelash. The other eyelash is up here. You see, it's hiked up that way. That indicates that this eye is higher than this one. So just want to point that out. Little things like that become quite important in this case. All right, now what I have now is a hodgepodge of pencil lines, and I won't really be able to see if I have a perfect likeness, quote unquote perfect likeness, until I make all of these corrections in paint. So I'm hoping that you're seeing, right? You can see the pencil lines here. They scream, they shout out loud at me because they don't look like paint. So I'm going to have to make, this is not my last go round. This is not my last correction on this portrait, or at least very, very unlikely. I'm going to make all of these, and now I'm going to put the pencils down, and I'm going to, and I won't broadcast this part because it's just plain old. I will show you real quickly, since you're still here. I'll show you my real quick palette, I mixed up these colors. I pre-mix flesh tones whenever I'm doing portraits, pretty much whenever. And honestly, I did all this in about 5 minutes. It's real easy. Maybe I'll show you sometime. I'll show you how I do that. And then, as you can see, they're not in order. They're not like Daniel Green, all coming out in perfect fan shape, whatever. That takes an hour, 2 hours. No, it takes an hour. I did this in 4 or 5 minutes, okay? And maybe I'll show you that sometime. But I just want to let you know that I have a bunch of pre-mixed flesh tones, and even none of these will necessarily be perfect when it comes to, where's my dirty brush? Here it is. When it comes time to paint, more often than not, I'll take this color right here and pick up some of that color and create a third color in between. And I know you're getting a lot of reflection there. You can hardly tell what color, so sorry. But that's the way that goes. All right? So I'm just going to leave you right there. Nice short broadcast, the way all YouTube broadcasts are supposed to be. Let me see what you guys are, some of you are saying to me right here. Let me greet you. Then we'll leave again. Hello Maggie and Wystack. And M. Jenisbikoff. That's a new one. Thank you for speaking up, Mr. M. It's me, Joker. Oh, Joker with a different name. That's funny. And you say, I require subtitles in Russian if possible. You can then turn on subtitles on the next stream. Whoa. David, my sound is different. I'm sorry. I started the broadcast and then discovered my microphone wasn't working. Sorry about that. So we're doing ambient sound. How's it sound? Sounds a lot better if I lean way over like this, doesn't it? Sorry about that. Hello, Maggie. Good news. Speaking of bad sound, this morning I ordered my new upgraded Mevo camera that I'm excited about. The reviews look pretty good. It's a considerable improvement over the one that you're looking at me on right now. So I'm excited about that. Should be here, they say, on Thursday. All right. It's already looking more like her. How about that? All right. Bye-bye. Thanks for watching.